All week, Trump has been enjoying the appointments of officials for his future administration. And while the candidacy of Secretary of State Marco Rubio looks organic, Matt Gaetz, who is trailing behind him a trail of accusations of sexual abuse, is unlikely to be confirmed by the Senate as Attorney General. The same goes for Tulsi Gabbard, whom Trump nominated for the post of Director of National Intelligence. Gabbard is literally stuffed with racist narratives, including the mythology of biolabs in Ukraine. Needless to say, she actively opposes Kyiv and whitewashes Moscow in every possible way. According to Trump, TV host and showman Pete Hegseth should head the Pentagon, and the department's top leadership is already preparing for the purges that are inevitable. One of the first candidates for dismissal is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the U.S. Armed Forces, General Charles Brown. Following him, officers associated with General Mark Milley, who sharply criticized Trump, will resign. And now the red broom will sweep out all the disloyal, after which it will start reshaping the world order, together with its bald friend. Breaking it is not possible to break it. According to some reports, Putin's envoy has already rushed to the US with a plan to freeze the war. It is possible that Dmitry Patrushev has already met with Trump's representatives and through them conveyed a list of the Kremlin's conditions. Moscow wants maximum territory and does not guarantee anything. Putin has a militarized economy under steam, which is now overheated, but this can be fixed. He only needs time to catch his breath, to fill the empty warehouses with new weapons, accumulate missiles, recruit new meat for the army, train it and move on, shaking Europe. Putin believes that 4 years of Trump are just enough for this. It would be ideal if the US left NATO this time, depriving the alliance of a critical striking force. Because NATO without the US is not quite NATO. In the meantime, Trump publicly promises to focus on ending the war in Ukraine. We are going to work very hard on Russia and Ukraine. This must end, Trump said at a gala evening at his Florida estate. But he kept quiet about the fact that Putin will only sit down at the negotiating table on his own terms. Guarantees from Putin are worth nothing at all, and surrendering Ukraine in this way breaks the established rules, returning the law of the jungle, with the right of the strongest, to politics. This guarantees chaos and war on the continent, at least for the next 5 to 6 years, and possibly immediately after Trump leaves. Putin has not only not abandoned the idea of uniting Russia, Ukraine and Belarus as a single Russian world, but is also hatching the idea of restoring influence on the countries of Eastern Europe, as was the case with the Warsaw Pact during the Soviet era. And this guarantees a clash with the Baltic countries and NATO or what will remain of the alliance after the possible withdrawal of the United States. In Germany, early elections will be held on February 23, 2025, and it is not a fact that Scholz will remain in the Chancellor's chair. In France, the prosecutor's office is demanding 2 years in prison for the leader of the Nationalist Party Marine Le Pen for misappropriation of funds from the European Parliament. Le Pen does not admit guilt, but if convicted, she will not be able to run for president in 2027. Polish President Andrzej Duda exclaims at a press conference with NATO Secretary General Rutte, "I cannot imagine that Trump will allow Russia to destroy Ukraine." And he declares that since the beginning of the full-scale war, the United States has already provided Ukraine with giant funds, military equipment and financial assistance, and Trump's duty is to respect this money. But Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk no longer hopes for Uncle Sam's common sense, and is taking steps to form a coalition that would not depend on the alliance's belated decisions. And the Polish army is already laying claim to becoming the largest land force on the continent, not hiding the fact that Europe is living in a pre-war time. Plasheves can be pleased. His war shares are growing. His Lubyanka agents in the form of Navalny Ashins and Kara Murzilkas are already preparing to march through Berlin, waving racist banners in support of peace talks. Peace for the Bolsheviks is the achievement of all their goals. In this case, swallowing large chunks of Ukraine right now, with an eye on the final absorption and destruction of Ukrainian statehood and the nation as such. As was said, Red mold cannot be washed off. It can only be destroyed by fire. Burned out forever. War gives birth to hatred and a thirst for revenge, in the fight for justice, without which peace is impossible. Do you think they are joking when they write on their chevrons, "We need peace"? Preferably all of it. Do the racists want a big war? Well, they will get it.